So please welcome the US champion and 2010 world champion, Lisa Modlich.
I want you all to know how I think it is wonderful that we all people can still do all that. So when you take up table tennis, keep this in mind. It's good for your soul, it's good for your legs, it's good for everything. You have to move, pick up balls. You cannot be slow when you're a table tennis player. You have to react pretty fast. And this is what the medal looked like from China.
Oh, okay.
The World Championship medal. I've tried 5 World Championships. Every 2 years we have them. I never made #1 till China.
When in your life did you realize you were really good at ping pong?
When it got too hot in Texas to play tennis outside. I was like 67, and tennis in the Texas 85-degree heat is a little hard on your system. So somebody told me, why don't you take up a game indoor? That was in 67. I started by winning I was 67. I started by winning the Texas Championship the same year. Wow. I don't know if it was luck or if it was the tennis training. Could be.
It started with, it was actually a photo in a budget airline, a photo in a magazine, in-flight magazine of Dorothy DeLoe, the Australian. And she would have been 97 at the time, and it was her in the finals in Rio. And she was wearing the Australian team kit. And it was just someone representing their country in a sporting event. At the age of 97, I thought there had to be something in it. And looked into it, and I had no idea about this whole world of veterans athletics, and that sort of unfolded. But very quickly found Les Darcy, who's just a legend in the table tennis world, in the UK, and went and met Les. And within 5 minutes of meeting Les, he was quoting his motivational mantras, and Kipling was coming out. And so his whole sort of world view around sport, and sport's been a big part of his life. And so that really began with that. And then Les introduced me to Terry, and so forth. And then as we then met the different people involved.
And it was a kind of a gamble, because we had you can find out who won the championships on the internet and on the previous competitions, and we got in touch with a lot of the previous players to see whether they'd be going to China, and Lisa was among that. But that was a very small sort of exchange. It was just a phone conversation, and we decided to take a gamble that if you're going to make your way to China, that in this competition there's going to be some extraordinary people and some very strong competitors, and Lisa is a prime example of that. So we didn't know Lisa until we were there. I mean, I think one of the first things that we filmed with Lisa is the scene where Lisa's talking about Dorothy, and so it's a very open sort of relationship from then on. I don't know, how was that for you when we were there with a camera?
I was really surprised to hear it. I said, what in the hell are you doing here? You remember that? Good old text and talk.
From the outset, I think it was just sort of treating people as athletes. That was what we, and so to make so I mean, it's a sports movie, and so a lot of the questions that we were talking to them about sports were just the same questions that we'd talk to any athlete. And I think that definitely, that approach, that sort of helps. So, and then the sort of the flip side was the sort of weaving the other stories, other things going in and around people's lives, and so sort of so bringing that element in, but without sort of lingering too much on sort of the danger is it becomes sort of nostalgic, or so we were very aware of that, and hopefully we sort of there is a fine line, and hopefully we navigated that. So we've known each other a while, so it's never really sort of I think it's quite good. I mean, it's a good way of working with people you know very well. There's that. So I mean, Anson probably majority did the camera work, but we'd be swapping. That would be quite fluid as well.
Here you go.
I don't know. I mean, making films is collaborative, and there's it's knowing somebody well. So you need to find a team, and I guess in some senses we're lucky because we know each other. And so I always think of it that you really need to be able to look at somebody, and like a whole load of information passes over in that look, and we can do that. So that's worthwhile, and I think we're looking at other films. So yeah,
there's lots. We have a company together, and so we do lots of films together. I think the mortality, sort of for me, that was an attraction to the subject. It was sort of a way of looking at mortality, and so in a.
With 34 years, big deal.
Yeah, no, exactly. So then, so that sort of then emerges. But so how it sort of changed. There was interesting things. So Les doesn't have any mirrors in his house. There was sort of that's an interesting idea. But I think Terry says it best. I think everyone are sort of examples of it. But Terry very explicitly talks about his mind and the power of the mind over his body, and so. And whether that's necessarily about growing older, but I think that's something that I've learnt from the whole process. That's quite a powerful feeling to know that, and I think Terry's story is a very good example of that. Yeah, so the UK, it's just come to the end of a 3-month cinema tour with so BritDoc released the film in the UK, and the reaction was brilliant, and it was sort of. It kind of like there's sort of two audiences. There's the whole, I guess, three. There's sort of the table tennis enthusiast audience, and then there's a youth audience as well to it. It seems it's just looking at people going to the cinemas, and then there's older audiences, and one of that is that the film was shown. It started off with quite a sort of small amount of screenings in care homes, and the reaction, I was quite worried actually the first time it was shown, because it could be considered slightly sort of patronising or sort of, you know, who do we, two men in their 30s showing this film. So I was sort of slightly worried, but the reaction was brilliant, and so care homes are now buying table tennis equipment and showing the film, and so hosting screenings, and then starting table tennis clubs. And there's now, so homes are now having inter-home competitions, and which is fantastic. So all of that, and that was all very unexpected.
Thank you to Anson, Hugh, Lisa, thank you.
Thank you.